So good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, wherever you are. Please note that I may look up to see my Facebook Live page. I may look down to see another one. Thanks, guys. I love hearing from you and everything from around the world. We had a couple of big things happen last couple of weeks. We talked about some questions, and we put up 25 questions. So first I did a post. It was called Stand Up to Freedom. We talked about that. Some things that are happening in the world today about civil liberties in regards to the viral Geddon, as I like to call it. Hi, guys. I see a hello up there. I can see you going. And then the second thing that we're going to talk about is we got into 25 questions on my last video. There's quite a few posts and comments on it. If you haven't checked it out, please go there. And it's the idea of that was to start a dialogue. I'm just going to zoom this in a little bit better so it's a little closer to my phone. There we go. Is to start a dialogue with everyone about some things that they should be asking themselves right now in regards to this, in regards to the civil liberties, the right to free speech, the right to assemble, these constitutional components that are happening. And right now we're in a situation where there is a lot of conflicting information about this virus situation. There is certainly severe economic consequences. And I believe in many cases, constitutional rights have been infringed upon about this. And that is a scary thing considering the consequences of what is going on. Now, I understand that we don't know all the details about this virus or the conditions and stuff. There's a lot of sketchy information. And I won't go too deep into that because I did that on my last video. And if you haven't seen it, please watch it. It's 25 questions. And the idea of those questions was to ask yourself these questions, not only with yourselves, but with your family members and with your community. The idea here is to inspire dialogue as opposed to be just stuck in the narrative, whichever one that you happen to be paying attention to or getting confused. Because I've seen it all. I've seen everything from conspiracy theorists. I can see the medical thing. I've watched the press brief directly from the presidential team because I'm not so confident I'm going to get the right spin from the news medias. I've been looking at alternative news, everything you can imagine. Trying to figure this whole thing out and provide some, but I digress. Because today we wanted to talk about what is the real cost of freedom. So you go back almost 250 years ago, there is these guys that came together and formed the United States Constitution, right? They made the Declaration of Independence. Now, what they were trying to escape is the tyranny of a monarchy. The monarchy, the British Empire, which ruled the entire world at the time, they felt was a tyrannical organization that was extracting more value from the settlers than they were getting. So they made a Declaration of Independence. Now, they fought extensively and argued extensively, and many of the or the discussions were well recorded about how do you create a democracy that could last without corruption? So they created a democratic republic and they made all these different checks and balances, and then amendments came, and then there was constitutional fighting and everything. But what's interesting is the bottom line is it's very evident that the democratic republic, the idea that was built as the United States, has contributed more value to the world on a global scale than any other system that has been created today. That goes with communism, that goes with socialism, that goes with monarchies, that goes with tyrannical regimes, and tribal regime, everything that you could imagine. Now, there was a couple things why that happened, partly because of the isolation of North America, gave it a strategic location, which allowed the country to kind of grow without suffering the tribal wars that have plagued Europe for centuries, and the Middle East and Asia and stuff. So that was a big component. Now, you have to realize is that consciousness, when those guys signed that declaration, they essentially signed their death warrant. So that was the whole thing, give me freedom or give me death. Well, or give me liberty or give me death. But you have to realize something here is those people were so determined to have these rights that we enjoy today that they were willing to die for that. And I left that off in my last videos. Like, yeah, what are you willing to die for? What are you willing to give up for? Now, I'm not saying anybody's got to go up and make a stand. I'm certainly not trying to incite riots, or anything like that. What I'm trying to inspire is for you to have a conscious dialogue, a debate amongst the people in your sphere of influence, your friends, your family, okay, the people at your work. Not in a thing that I want to put you down or whatever, but to really consider what those rights are, and also to see how they are in jeopardy right now. They're deeply, deeply in jeopardy. And we have to really think about this because yes, there's a lot of questions about the virus. Yes, there's going to be, there's deaths, there's going to be more deaths and stuff, but at what cost? At what expense? How long is this going to go on? And what is the economic consequences? And so over the last week, as I followed your comments and threads and stuff, I got thinking about something and I thought, well, what really is freedom? So how do you define freedom? What do you see as freedom? How does freedom work in your life? And I got thinking about this. And so I actually looked it up in the dictionary. Okay, and so I looked it up and it said in here on freedom, the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. The power or right to act, to speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. Wow. It's a powerful statement, isn't it? I'm going to say it one more time. Freedom is the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. Well, how many people actually feel that way? Do you feel that you can speak that way at your work? Do you feel you can speak that way at your home? Do you feel you can speak that way with your friends? And do you feel that you can speak that way online? Where there are many influential people right now in the world who have differing opinions from the narrative, and they're being deplatformed. Their voices are being silenced. That is a major, major danger that we need to pay attention to. Talk about that in a second. Next thing about in the definition of freedom, the absence of subjection to foreign or despotic governments. So, the absence of subjection to foreign or despotic governments. What does that mean? Well, it appears by all accounts that the virus came out of China, that the World Health Organization did not report the information properly, did not clarify the information properly. Our medical leaders, including people such as Dr. Fauci, as late February, was saying it was no big deal, not a thing. And then suddenly we get these numbers out of an obscure college in England that's telling us we're going to lose 1.6 to 2.2 million people and we have to act. And then the press comes in and all that sort of stuff. And the madness breaks out. The question to ask is, are you being subject to a foreign or despotic government? Now, there is the case of this coming from somewhere else. Is it an accident? Was it a thing? We don't know. Was it intentional? Was it intentionally underreported? Was it an embarrassment but they didn't want to report? Was it some other thing? We don't know yet. That will come to point. But the potential that we are being subjected to a despotic and foreign government does exist. The next thing I want to ask is, right now, we are being federally regulated, virtually, and there's over 3 billion people who are being federally regulated. by a centralized government known as their nation state. So I'm from Canada. That would be Canada. In the States here where I'm living now is the United States. In Mexico would be Mexico. In, United Kingdom would be United Kingdom. But there is, what's interesting is a centralized government a foreign government? So is people in Washington, do you consider them a foreign government if you're in a state in, say, Utah or Montana or South Dakota or California? It's an interesting thought to consider. Absence of the subjection to foreign or despotic governments. Now, 3, the third part of freedom. The state of not being imprisoned or enslaved. So the example they gave on the internet was the shark thrashed its way to freedom. Why do people watch Braveheart, for example? What is the thing? What do you want to do? He wanted to live his life. He wanted to have his family. He wanted that. No, they killed his wife. He doesn't get his family. Didn't get to be a farmer. So he goes to war. And what does he go to war for? Freedom. Interesting. If you watch the movie 300, what do they go for? For freedom. What has been the rallying cry of armies of for example, the Indian people under British tyrannical rule and all the colonies of that? What has been the call of the the War of Independence? What has been a call of the black people who were enslaved in the United States? And the whole movement all the way down from Lincoln all the way up to Martin Luther King, and the transformational components that had on societies to break psychological paradigms. And so, which leads me to the 3 types of freedom that we have to take personal responsibility for. So what I have to say to you is that freedom is not just granted to you. It's throughout human history. It is not, I don't think it was even used till the 12th century. Think about that. There's some time before that. Like, freedom is a very interesting concept. So, for example, with the company we work with, one of the companies we work with, we talk about the 3 types of freedom: health, wealth, peace of mind. I think we would all agree that your health is probably the most important component of freedom, because if you go back here, the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. If you've had a stroke, are you free? If you have heart disease, are you free? If you have diabetes, are you free? If you have physical ailments or physical components, you are not free from a health perspective. And that means that your ability to speak, to think, is a hindrance or a restraint. So there are a couple of things that really constitute health freedom. Number 1 is nutrition. Most people do not know that at the turn of the century, when they introduced iodine back into salt in the United States, when they added iodine into the dietary habits of the United States population, IQ went up 15 points. That's an astonishing number. That is an astonishing number. One nutrient increased intelligence across the board. The average intelligence increase was 15 points. The median moved over 15 points. Nothing we have ever heard of has been able to do that. But I digress. Right now, most people in America are eating a diet devoid of nutrients, of vitamins, of key minerals, of essential fatty acids, of naturally growing and occurring carbohydrates, not refined sugars and carbohydrates found in boxes and containers and things like that, and undenatured healthy proteins for the body. People aren't eating that stuff anymore. The standard American diet, the reality is it will guarantee that you do not have freedom of health. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Is that the government's responsibility or is it your responsibility? And I'm going to ask you another question. If the freedom and power to act is related to your health, and you don't have all of those things accounted for in your life, and now there's wonderful tests to tell you what you're deficient in and what's going on or how that is, have you claimed your health freedom? And if most people are really honest with themselves, they can actually say no. No, they don't have health freedom. They don't have health freedom. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. The other thing is the fitness level. Fitness is your ability, again, the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. Can you get up on a bicycle and go with a bike ride with your grandkids? Do you have the ability to lift heavy pieces of objects in your life if so necessary? Are you able to play or perform the activities that you like to perform? Do you have enough physical endurance? Do you have enough muscle strength? Do you have enough physical vitality to get through the day without all sorts of chemicals and drugs and all these sort of things? So if you look at health freedom constitutes fitness and quality nutrition. Those two things lead to health. Now, guess what? There is nobody else. It is not the government's job to do this. It's your job to incorporate this. And for anybody that wants to find out, I have a whole host of people who help people do testing and find out and get the real information and the real data. I'm happy to send you over to one of the naturopathic doctors and the nutritionists, or I give away a course on this whole thing of what you need to do and the tests you can take and all this stuff. And I give it away for free. And then I can direct you to the proper specialists that will do that. So the question is, your health freedom is determined by how you manage that. And most people don't think about it until it declines to a point. So what does it require? It requires high quality daily nutrition and daily exercise. And exercise comes in many forms. It doesn't have to be expensive. You can walk, you can bicycle, you can, like I do, like to weight train, you can do yoga or Pilates. Like there's so many different types of ways to be healthy or fit. And you can make it fun. A lot of people define gyms boring. I like gyms, but some people like to be outdoors in nature or something. You might want to, maybe you're into skiing, so you move to a northern climate. Maybe you're into, kayaking, so you need to be by the water. Maybe you need to be a biker, so you want to be around trails or where there's biking. But the point of the matter is have you set your life up in a way that allows you the freedom of movement, the freedom of vitality, the freedom to move your physical body? That's the question that you should answer right now. Because right now, a lot of people are being restricted from performing their health exercises. So for example, I left California and came over here to Arizona because right here, it allows me to go out on the land to walk and stuff, because I can't go to the gym. I can't go to the gym. The gyms are all closed. And this is what I like to do. Now, I can't do anything about that right now. Okay. There's nothing I can do under the current rules. Now, I could get mad. I could get angry. I can blame the government. And believe me, I'm frustrated about many of those things. But at the end of the day, it's up to me to act. So I went to another state and a place where I have access to, sunlight, where I get lots of vitamin D, that I can walk out in the peaceful hills and feel in nature. And that allows me a form of exercise. And I've really been enjoying this time away, although I'm not able to get the gym, and I've got an outdoor routine I do. I got some bands, and I got some dumbbells the other day and a little bench press, and I do the best workout I can, but I've been able to extend another area of my fitness that I wasn't wasn't able to do before. So I've gained something in the prevalent loss. Why am I saying that? I'm not saying that I got this something better than you or it's kind of thing. What I'm trying to share with you is how you can take back your freedom, going back to number one in the definition, the power or right to act, speak or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. If you don't have your physical vitality, you cannot do those things, and therefore you are not free. Nutrition, we talked about that. So those are the two basic components of health freedom. There are some other components. I would say mental and social freedom. I think right now our social freedom is somewhat restricted and impaired. This may have unforeseen consequences. I'm very concerned about the loss of the right to assemble. And there are some people that are challenged that both legally and in groups and stuff like that, because our enforcement agencies who are here to uphold the law are now upholding some of these things which may be an infringement. That's going to play itself into the courts very soon. But I think it's something to pay attention to over time. So that's health freedom. So I think all of us need to see, and the other thing is this, I've talked to, I don't know, probably at least 30 different, maybe more than that, somewhere between 30 and 50 of my colleagues in the health industry. So that's people that own supplement companies or exercise companies or naturopathic doctors or nutritionists or physio. Yeah, it's definitely closer to 50. It's a lot of people, right? It's kind of like my people I hang out with. None of them are worried about the physical side of, none of them are worried about if they get the virus or it's going to affect them or all that sort of stuff. And they're at the lowest levels of risk. Guess what? That is proof that you have physical freedom if you have health freedom. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't transmit stuff or you can't affect people who are at risk, but you yourself, because you've owned freedom and other people, maybe haven't, they become at risk. And so what's interesting is we've kind of reversed the trend to protect the people who are less vital. We've decided to shut down the economy. We've started to shut down the freedoms. We shut down movement. And we've penalized the people who have actually created physical health freedom in their life. That's interesting. Something to consider. You do what you want with that. Let's go to the next step. So the next step is wealth freedom. So this is a touchy topic for a lot of people. And it's one that a lot of people struggle with. And I came from, I would say, a blue-collar family growing up in the East Coast, and we had lots of love. We didn't have a lot of money, but we did have a certain level of wealth freedom from the standpoint is we had food on the table. We had a nice house to live in. I could play on my bicycle and I could go to my friends and play sports and do lots of things. So relative to the world, I got to enjoy a lot of freedom, even though in North America, we would consider on the low end of income. So Daniel Kahneman, who actually looked at what creates, what is the range? He did this whole big research about how much income is enough to create wealth freedom. And he actually pointed out that the point between $75,000 and $150,000 per year, somewhere in that range, your actual happiness doesn't increase at all from that range. So in some places that'd be 75K, in some expensive cities like maybe New York or Los Angeles, that'd be 150K. But basically you could live whatever kind of lifestyle that you wanted. You could buy the right food that you wanted. You could have the right nutrition. You could go to the right gyms. You could own a car and have a home and, have enough money if something bad happens to you that, you can navigate that, whether you have insurance or you have a medical situation or you've got a nest egg or you've got that sort of thing. Your basic happiness has not, you don't increase your happiness. Happiness is negligible after that. And I can agree with that. So the goal of everybody, if you're looking for wealth freedom, is to be able to acquire somewhere between $75,000 and $150,000 per year in passive-based income, relatively passive-based income, or doing income that you like. And ideally, you want to do something that you like and then build enough passive income that you can get to that point. If you want to know more about that, I would definitely encourage to check out a friend of mine's site. It's called Wealth Factory. His name is Garrett Gunderson. And he's got some amazing work. I work with Garrett. He helps me with my thinking around wealth creation and that sort of stuff. And I am very grateful to this company here called Enagic. Enagic has a program, and many of us are associated with that when you hit a certain level inside the company, once you have enough distributors, you make a base amount that's in that range, in between $75,000 and $150,000 a year. And I was able to achieve that. And I'm not saying that to brag, but what I can say, there was a general physiological effect that happened when I hit that point that I knew, I could get sick, I could fall down, I could take a month off, I could travel the world, I could do all this stuff. And there was a certain amount of money coming in. Now, I have another friend, Keith Yackey, who's done that through real estate. He's created that kind of program. I've got other friends who have created that through financial instruments or owning businesses that create spin-off income. But really, to enjoy wealth freedom, you need to be able to develop a way that brings income in while you are not working. Now, you may want to work, and ideally you would do it in an area that you like to work, but the bottom line is that what wealth freedom is. The freedom to be able to have the time to have to fitness, to have your nutrition, to have your basic needs, your shelter, your home, your ability to transport, your ability to have leisure time, all of that sort of stuff kind of fits within that equation. And the question is, are you there right now? Now, I grew up in a place, again, that would blame the government if I didn't get this, okay? Blaming the government. Again, determining some centralized goal. So let's go back to that. Absence of subjection to foreign or despotic government. Well, if I'm not, so really, there's all kinds. Last year in the United States, 500,000 people made $1 million or more. Last year in the United States, 500,000 people, and 4,000 people climbed Mount Everest ever. Think about that. So making $1 million is a lot easier. The question is, are you dedicating the amount of time? Are you putting forth the time? By the way, I say hi to all those people that are watching. Are you putting forth the time, the effort, the energy? Are you employing the right strategy? Are you deploying the right amount of time? Are you learning the skills that allows you to bring in that kind of money that'll, and certainly in the short term, and then also into a passive firm? So you might have to make more. I have another company that does this one here by Optimizers that makes a lot more, but I don't take very much of that money. In fact, I don't get very much of it because we keep growing the company for the mission, which is to end physical suffering and activate awesome health. And we support the people that we help with our nutritional programs and our education systems. But we also have a team of people that helps deploy that message worldwide from myself and my business partner. And we keep putting more money into it because we want to support the mission. Now, we love doing it. And because I have this other income that's coming in no matter what, the bottom line is it supports that message. So it's a two-way trail that I've been able to express and do what I want. And I've been able to make sacrifices in my life in other areas in order to do that. So there is a cost to freedom. There's a cost to your time. There is a cost to your energy. There's a cost to where you direct your study. And that really comes down to one thing: discipline. So as you're in this crisis and you're stuck at home and you can't go where you want to go and you can't do what you want to do, maybe you can't even work. Maybe your business is one of the businesses that is being wiped out in this whole thing. Holy crap. That might be a good thing. I don't want to minimize it. That might suck A lot right now. You might have just lost your job. You might have just had your business collapse, or the business that you worked for collapsed and it's not coming back. This situation might be the greatest opportunity in your life to make a shift, to make a break, to go and do what you really wanted to do, to change. Because guess what? You've lost the social pressure of it all. You've lost the story of it. Why did you leave that job that was paying you $50,000 a year? And people don't do things because of the social pressure. And it goes back to here. The state of not being imprisoned or enslaved. Well, wait a minute. Does that mean with bars or being locked up in your house? The state, freedom is the state of not being imprisoned or enslaved. I'm going to ask you a question. Are you enslaved by your idea of self, your egoic representation of who you think you are? So most people is like, what happens when you meet somebody? Oh, hey, how you doing? Where are you from? What do you do? Isn't that two common questions that come up when you meet people? So I talked about this. This is interesting. This is a funny story, actually. I talked about this in a meeting in Toronto last summer. I think it was about a year ago. Maybe more than that. Actually, yeah, it was about a year ago that I gave this talk in Toronto. And I talked in this talk about identity, because people are enslaved and imprisoned to the identity that they hold in their lives. They are locked into their social culture. They're locked into their nationalistic identity. They're locked into their social economic status. They're locked into the belief groups, the tribe that they're a part of, and what's the values of those. And oftentimes they don't feel that they can change or evolve with life. You know, it's like, you know, my dad was a Democrat and his dad was a Democrat, so we're Democrats. Or my dad was a Republican, this dad was a Republican. So they're locked into a framework because they don't want to lose the identity. They are enslaved to an idea. And if you're enslaved to an idea, you do not have peace of mind. So you don't have freedom. You could have your health, you can have money, but you might not think it's enough money, or you might think that there's injustices in the world, or you might not be happy because you're comparing yourself to somebody else. Now, what is the cost of not having peace of mind? Oh, it's devastating. And you will not have peace of mind with your health. You will not have peace of mind with your wealth. Those things can certainly help you get it or acquire it or keep it, but you won't keep them. But peace of mind is a practice. The state of not being imprisoned or enslaved. So how do you get that? Well, in order to find that, you need to study philosophy, which they take out of schools now. You need to think about, what did the Buddha say? What did Krishna say? What did Jesus say? What did Zoroaster say? All of them said basically the same things. Almost every saint around the world is that you have to let go of the attachment to these physical things. Now, what's interesting is most of them started with a physical discipline, and they reduced their life. But one of the pathways of reducing their dependence on economics was to be non-attached to physical things. So in a monastic lifestyle, which was traditionally practiced throughout years, the monastic would reduce his life and saying, I don't need a job, I don't need a life, I don't require anything from life. I'm just going to eat the fruit that I find and the nuts that I find. I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to condition my body so if it rains on me, it doesn't bother me. If it snows on me, it doesn't bother me. If it's hot, it doesn't bother me. If I have food today, it doesn't bother me. And so in this time, one of the austerities that I've been practicing, to kind of give this example, is I eat for 12 hours. I fast for 36. Okay, so from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. I eat. And then I don't eat the next day, and I don't eat till the next morning at 8 a.m. and go to 8 p.m. And I do that 3 days a week. So in total, I have 108 hours of where I'm fasting, plus 2 more nights when I'm sleeping. So let's say in another 8 hours, so that's 116, is 124, yeah, somewhere between 120, I think it's around 124. It's about 120 hours a week, something like that. It's about 80% of the week where I'm not eating. So what do you think happens? My weight goes down automatically. Just goes away. Because I don't let hunger dictate when I eat. Okay? I don't let the fact that I can't go to every restaurant I want affect me. And during that time, I practice meditation, practice taking control of my mind, letting go the things that come up and bother me. I examine them and say, well, am I projecting an expectation on someone? Am I being enslaved to an idea of who I need to be? Am I being enslaved to this concept of social conditioning? Am I being enslaved to an idea that I think these people are for me or these people against me? And by practicing that practice, it's a process of letting go, you then can achieve a peace of mind. And if you have peace of mind, you are able to identify not with this physical body, but with the universal consciousness of humanity, or the universal consciousness of the universe, of soul consciousness, or God consciousness, or Christ consciousness, or any of those things at the highest levels that you can get. And that's a discipline. That takes work. It takes effort. It takes practice. I've been practicing that for 20 years, and I'm still not there, but it's the pursuit of that gives me peace of mind. It's the idea that I can take from these people who were able to achieve that state of consciousness and awareness, so that even in the midst, as one of my teachers say, I can stand amidst the crash of breaking worlds and remain unshaken. That is what peace of mind is. Are you shaken by this? Are you affected mentally by maybe the loss of job, or the loss of economic certainty, or the loss of health certainty? Again, freedom. What is the cost of freedom? The power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint, the absence of subjection to foreign or despotic government, and the state of not being imprisoned or enslaved. So what is the opportunity? What is the opportunity that we all have in this midst of going inwards? So maybe this whole thing is the greatest opportunity that your life has ever presented. Maybe you have to spend more time with the people in your family and you're discovering, hey, that's pretty fun. Or there's some areas that we need to work out. It's a time for honesty and reflection and clarity, and not debate in the way that I'm right, you're wrong, but the spirited debate in where 2 or more people discuss something to come to a level of truth and awareness relative to them, and stay open and respectful to that person's point of view, yet being able to be free within their own opinion. That is the pathway to wisdom. That is the pathway to peace. The spending, are you taking the time to learn the things that you can learn, where you can be better in your fitness, better in your nutrition? Are you learning the skills? Maybe if you're really compromised right now financially, and a lot of people are, there's a lot of free courses, free videos from the world's best people that you're literally every week. I'm learning from people like Ray Dalio. I'm learning from billionaires. I'm looking for sales experts. I'm learning from health experts. I'm learning from psychological experts. I'm learning from spiritual experts. Many of these things are free. I've been buying some extra stuff on my own that I've been learning. I've been learning about taxes. I've been learning about politics. I'm literally, I go on my hikes now. I'm walking out in the hills in the middle of nowhere, and I have my phone on, and I'm listening to these things that I wouldn't normally be listening to. So I'm increasing my ability to increase and produce wealth, both in my psychological wealth and then in my financial wealth. as well as my emotional and spiritual wealth, the wealth of friends, the wealth of communication, the learning from my own mistakes, my past things. I'm learning about how to be fit, how to be healthier. I'm learning about nutrients. I'm connecting with other people who are promoting these things. And, you know, my company's been actually hiring people during this whole thing to go out and spread their genius and their message and their ideas out into the world, because I've never seen a time where health is more important in your life. The businesses that are going to survive this are businesses that deal with these three types of freedom: health, wealth, and peace of mind. Those three things are the only paths to freedom. By seeking out people who have achieved physical health, financial health, and mental, emotional, or spiritual health, whatever you want to call that, peace of mind, I like to call it, by spending your time consuming that instead of the latest whatever theory, conspiracy theory, or the latest politicalization statement of what's going on, or the latest stuff. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have some information. I don't believe in completely avoiding all the information that's coming. I think you want to take in some of that information to be aware, but you want to spend the bulk of your time on this, the 80%, the old 80-20 rule, the 80% working on the things that is going to allow you to achieve these three healths. So I'm going to ask you a question. This is how we're going to finish this up. I'm going to ask you three questions. What have you been pursuing? Hi, Amanda. What have you been pursuing before the coronavirus lockdown? What things were you doing with your time before that happened? So write out your time and what things were you doing, and was that leading you to physical health, financial health, or peace of mind? If not, this is a great opportunity, because probably a lot of those activities have been curtailed or dysfunction, unless you were just sitting in front of Netflix every night. And there's some people doing that. That's fine. They're probably not listening to this. They're probably watching Netflix. Okay. So what have you been pursuing? And I'm going to ask, how long have you been pursuing that? How long have you been doing what you've been doing? And what have you gained from it? What have you gained from the pursuits of your actions? Have you been chasing fame and fortune? Have you been chasing the raise? Have you been chasing social status? Have you been chasing, maybe acknowledgement on a bodybuilding contest like I used to do? Maybe you've been chasing, maybe you've been pursuing martial arts. Maybe you've been pursuing artistic expression. How have you been dividing up your time before this, and that's been taken away? And some of that might be good and some of that might not be so good. What have you gained from that? Now, here's the biggest question. What is going to change in your life after this lockdown? Because I'm going to tell you something. We ain't going back to normal. Normal's gone. It's not happening again. It's over with. We'll never see normal again. Do you remember 9/11? Remember the shoe bomber? Okay. Right? Do you remember the 2008 financial? Like, there are life-changing events that happen in the world, and we're in the middle of one. This is a life-changing moment in time. And we're going to come out of this at some point. There's probably going to be an economic depression. There's probably going to be a lot of businesses wiped out, and there's probably going to be a lot of ones emerging. There's going to be people that lost their jobs and start other jobs. People are going to go worse, and some are going to go up, and some are going to go sideways. Which person are you going to be? How are you going to spend your time in the future? And what can you do right now to take back your freedom, the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint? The absence of subjection to foreign or despotic government, and the state of not being imprisoned or enslaved. If you are imprisoned in a body that is not physically vital, then that's where you need to put your most focus. If you are imprisoned in a lifestyle because you are financially constrained, that's the thing you need to work on the most. And if you have your health figured out and your finances figured out, but you still don't have peace of mind, you need to spend your time on that. And ideally, you'll allot a bit of your time on those three areas. Reach out on the online and get those informations around you. If you're looking for health stuff, contact me. I've got an array of experts and people that can help you. If you're looking for wealth and freedom, stuff like that, check out all the experts on that. There's a lot of them out there. Everybody from Ray Dalio to Garrett Gunderson to Robert Kiyosaki. There's all these ways that teach principles of creating wealth in your life and peace of mind. You can get into meditation. You can join meditation groups. I have a meditation group that I join. They have online stuff, so they do a daily practice. You can get into a spiritual organization or a church organization or something that creates peace of mind for you, that allows you to access a higher power, something bigger than this whole thing. Because I've noticed the people that have that in their lives are the people who seem to be doing better than the rest of us. People who are caught up with a greater sense of knowing, or a greater sense of building, or a greater sense of universal connection, or that we're all in this together, or there's some higher purpose, or there's an opportunity, there's something bigger than me. Because if there's something bigger than me, then all of a sudden my problems are not that big. And I always say, look, if you think you have problems, look up into the night sky and see those stars. And it's like millions and billions of light years away. So we're seeing light from millions of years ago, before the light that we're seeing. So the question is humanity is nothing. One guy out there that's a wealth guy, Dan Pena, he's very abrasive guy. He says, look, your life isn't more than a fart in the wind in the universe. And I love that. And he's right. Your life doesn't mean that much in the grand scheme of things, but it means a lot to you. So why not take this crisis and turn it in the opportunity to transform how you spend your time with your physical health, with your financial health, and with your peace of mind. And if you've been getting those things out there in a great way, I am going to encourage you to step up as a leader in your family, in your community, in your province, your state, your territory, in your country, and as a citizen of the world, and promote that, not as something ramming down and telling everybody what to do, but to do it as a shining example that is so powerful that people are magnetically attracted to you and saying, how is it that you're still happy during this crisis? How do you look so vital? Why is it that you were able to lose 10 or 15 pounds during this whole event and everyone else is gaining 20? How is it that you come out of this thing with a fantastic financial plan, or a new set of sales skills, or a new set of business skills, or some online, or whatever it happens to be? How can you be that shining example so that you're not ramming it down people's throats, but you're leading through example? You have because the bottom line, you are free to act. You are free to speak and think as you want without hindrance or restraint. You are free to be absent of subjection of foreign or despotic governments, and you are free to the state of being imprisoned or enslaved. And the bottom line is, it may come to a point where we do have to fight for these freedoms. But when you have peace of mind, you'll gladly lay your life down for those, as many have before us. We enjoy many of these opportunities because dedicated people surrendered their lives, surrendered their health, surrendered their financial well-being, so that you could sit here today with the choice. Now, the choice doesn't mean that you get it. The choice means that you can go pursue it. The question is, are you going to do that? Are you going to take this moment, this crisis, grab it by the horns, and be the person you were destined to be? I sure hope you do. I'm Wei T. Lightheart from the Prosperity and Health Alliance. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.